Household Rad, good to see you all when you do come on. I'm doing a little show earlier today because I'm not too optimistic about seeing midnight, to be honest. My usual time. I know most of my US audience, it's very early for you, so I expect you'll catch us on the replay. Okay, so thanks for coming and watching me. Today we're going to be reading the 7th Ray again, reading chapter 4, as I've said in the descriptions, the astrology and the 7th Ray. I'm just going to get straight into it. We haven't got anybody in chat at the moment, so I'll get straight into it, okay? Okay, so chapter 4, astrology and the 7th Ray. These interlocking energies which play through, traverse, return, stimulate and energize every part of our solar system only evoke conscious response, where the vehicle of expression and of response is adequate to the impact. And this statement is true of the solar logos, the planetary logi, and of all forms in all the kingdoms upon our planet. Unconscious reaction will of course exist, but it will be on a general or mass scale, and much of it pours through to us from these distant constellations via the 5th creative hierarchy. This hierarchy, being on the verge of liberation, is to be found on the intellectual level of consciousness and can therefore be used as a focal point and a transmitter of the higher energies to our solar system and to the planet. If you make a careful study of the chart of the 12 creative hierarchies, you will note that this hierarchy is influencing and is influenced by the 7th Ray of magical order and of ceremonial organization. The basic function of this ray is to relate spirit and matter and produce the manifested form. The sign of the zodiac with which it is closely connected is that of Cancer, the crab, which is a mass sign and one of the gates into manifested life. Earlier in this treatise, I gave you the relation between the rays and the constellations and stated that each of the 7 rays express itself through the medium of 3 constellations or through a triangle of energies. This relation is the basis of the entire science of triangles, and therefore of astrology itself. It is also related to the rays, the constellations, the ruling planets, and our Earth in a great synthesis of energies. It relates our solar system to the larger whole, or our tiny non-sacred planet to the solar system. Let me repeat that statement and thus indicate to you some vital facts and this world of interweaving energies. The rays pour through, are expressed by, and are transmitted through the following constellations. I'll just show you this briefly, so if anybody wants to pause the screen later on and have a look for themselves, they can. Okay. Just that bit there. Hi, Chloe. Great to see you. Thank you very much, lovely. You have a good day too. Hi, Scotty boy. Great. Good to see you. Thank you very much for coming, guys. I didn't think anybody was going to be able to watch. So thank you. Right. So give me a chance to have a little look at that. So we've got Ray 1 is Aries, Leo, Capricorn. Ray 2, Gemini, Virgo and Pisces. Ray 3, Cancer, Libra and Capricorn. Ray 4, Taurus, Scorpio and Sagittarius. Ray 5, Leo, Sagittarius and Aquarius. And Ray 6, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. And then Ray 7, Aries, Cancer and Capricorn. Uranus is the exotic ruler of Aquarius. It is also the esoteric ruler of Libra and the hierarchical ruler of Aries. It is peculiarly active at this time and brings in the energy of the 7th ray. The circulating of its energies can be portrayed by the following symbol or diagram. I know you may have just seen it when I showed you, but I'll show you again. That's that one there. And focus. There we go. Okay. So you've got Aries on the top. To the right hand, you've got Libra. To the left of the triangle is Aquarius, and then Earth, which is pointing down to. This triple inflow of seventh ray energy, coloured by the force of three great constellations, is potent to affect major changes in our little planet. It is interesting to realise that Aries, the inaugurator, is rendered effective on the Earth through the organising potency of Uranus. Aries, the source, the beginning and the initiator of the new age, and its coming civilizations, of the appearance of the kingdom of God on earth, and also of the individual initiate into the mysteries. Aquarius is the present determiner of the future. That which is now initiated in Aries will become manifested in Aquarius. And Libra will enforce the achievement of a point of balance, or esoterically speaking, of the escape from opposing forces at the midway point between the source and the goal. It is only in the present cycle that the sun and moon veil certain planets and are the exoteric symbols for certain esoteric forces. As evolution proceeds, the planets will not be veiled. Their influences will not be so remote. At present, the mechanism of the majority of the human family is not tuned to the reception of the rays from Vulcan, Uranus, or Neptune, whilst Pluto at present only evokes response from groups or from those disciples who are enough evolved rightly to respond. The three veiled planets, Vulcan, Uranus, and Neptune, are all sacred planets. Embodying first, seventh, and sixth ray energies, Vulcan is never an exoteric ruler and only comes into real activity when a man is on the path, whilst Uranus and Neptune are rulers of the 11th and 12th house and govern Aquarius and Pisces. The implications will be clear to you. Aries, Uranus embodies the energy of the seventh ray, and its work is analogous to that of Mercury. For the seventh ray is the ray which relates spirit and matter and brings together electric fire and fire by friction, thus producing manifestation. Uranus leads the soul to the burning ground during the final stages of the path. When the fire of Aries and the fire engendered through the potency of Uranus produce the flaming heat of the final burning ground. Through this burning ground, the initiate has finally to pass. Uranus rules the occult way and is, in an esoteric sense, connected to the Hierophant of the mysteries of initiation. Therefore, we have in relation to Aries and the life of the soul, which there comes into subjective manifestation, certain related signs wherein the soul, in objective manifestation, passes through peculiar and definite crises. Number one, the crises of the battlefield, leading to the culminating battle in Scorpio and the liberation into life in Capricorn, the place of the higher initiations after the reversal of the wheel. Number two, the crisis of the birthplace in Virgo, brought about through the activity of Mercury, leading through Leo to the birth of the Christ in Capricorn. The self-conscious individual in Leo becomes the Christ-conscious initiate in Capricorn. And number three, the crisis of the burning ground, which is brought about through the activity of Uranus. This is entered through the free choice of the initiate, who makes his choice in Libra, the point of balance where usually the moment for the reversal of the wheel takes place. There, the man has to decide whether to proceed as usual and according to custom, or reversing the wheel to pass through the burning ground to liberation. Libra is the polar opposite to Aries and therefore closely related. You will note that the rays which are related to or expressing themselves through Aries are curiously balanced. Rays 1 and 7 are the highest and the lowest, and therefore demand a point of balance upon the wheel, which is provided in Libra. Rays 6 and 4 bring to the balancing process the energy of the second ray, the major building ray, which enables the man to build anew and provides himself with a spiritual body of manifestation. Gemini, that's me, and quite a lot of us, I understand. Only one ray is therefore lacking where Gemini is concerned, and that is the seventh ray of organization, ceremonial magic, and ritual. This accounts for the instability and the fluidity of the Gemini influence, and is largely responsible for the frequent failure of the Gemini person to express the beauty, ideals, etc., which are sensed so that they materialize upon the physical plane. The seventh ray produces fixation upon the exoteric level of experience and anchors, if I may use such a term. The ray forces into form, producing concrete expression of the subjective realities of powers. 6 forces meet in Gemini, and for this reason, the double triangle, or King Solomon's seal, is one of the subjective symbols of this sign, linking it again with the Masonic tradition and indicating also again the essential dualism of this sign. All the inner potencies are therefore present, and only the stabilizing seventh ray energy is emitted from the dowry of the man born in Gemini. Thus, we can easily account for the versatility of the Gemini subject. The effectiveness of Mercury is also enhanced, and its interpretive aspect, because the Gemini person can always find points of contact with with people on nearly every ray. This is an interesting point to remember if you will realize that the great Masonic ritual was inaugurated under the influence of this sign, and yet the ray of ritual was omitted. This is due to the fact of reaction producing opposition and therefore interplay and struggle, hence the tests and trials of the Masonic procedure. Okay, just got a little diagram underneath. Rays, London. There's these, so I'll just show you easier. We've got that little one down there on the bottom, okay? Excuse me. And we've got Cancer. Scorpio is also most interestingly connected with the constellation Cancer. Through the influences of the sixth ray, for it should be remembered that the ray is also expressing itself through Neptune, but in a spiritual and esoteric manner. Neptune governs Cancer esoterically. The significance is therefore clear for Cancer is the sign of birth. It is the door into incarnation and the sign of generation. Scorpio is the sign of sex and of regeneration, and birth is ever the intended result of the sex relation. Father Spirit and Mother Matter, when brought together, produce the Son. The tests and difficulties and pains of this era are symptoms or indications of the entering into manifestation of the new civilizations and culture. They portend the birth of the new era for which the entire world waits. This will happen if, speaking esoterically, the sixth ray energy of Mars is transmuted into the sixth ray energy of Neptune. For the one is objective and full of blood, and the other is subjective and full of life. A great mystery is veiled and hidden in the above relationship. For Cancer, Neptune is expressive of the seventh ray, which rules and controls the eighth creative hierarchy. This is one of the 5 hierarchies whose names are unknown to us, and this particular one stands upon the verge of liberation. At the same time, it is closely connected with the mind principles as it works out through the solar angles or through the human hierarchy. It is related to the birth of the fourth creative hierarchy, in a sense not to be understood by anyone below the stage of the fourth initiation. But it is an interesting fact to remember, for it is in the connection between the sixth and seventh rays that the potent desire for incarnation was aroused, which resulted in the fall of the angels in primordial times. All right, we're on to Leo next. Hi Trina, great to see you. Thank you for coming. Do appreciate you being here. Hi Mary, great to see you. Thank you, and thank you for all your messages. Great to see you all here. Didn't expect anybody to come, so thank you. Very grateful. Okay, so now on to Leo. It will be apparent to you, given a little thought, that the sun, as it veils Neptune, produces a potent effect upon the personality, symbolized for us here by the astral body, whilst Uranus, which is also veiled by the sun, symbolizes the effect of the soul upon the personality. Hence the activity of the seventh ray, which is from one angle the lowest aspect of the first ray. Hence you have also the underlying idea of, number one, the awakening of the personality to soul control and contact with a true expression eventually in the three worlds of soul, will, desire, and intent. Number two, the awakening of the seventh center. The center at the base of the spine. That's a good point. Sit up straight, not that bad as it is. The center at the base of the spine. By the soul working through the first or highest head center and producing, as a consequence, the surging upward of the Kundalini fire. This, in turn, produces fusion with the higher forces. When this takes place, the three major centers in the body are the head, central spiritual sun, Sirius, the sun, the heart of the sun, Mercury and Uranus, the base of the spine, the physical sun, Saturn and Neptune. As the above alignment corresponds to a very high stage of initiation, it will not be possible to grasp all the implications, but enough may be apparent to reveal the underlying theme and purpose of the great work. I would here call to your attention that through these directing planets, the following rays are controlling factors in the chart of the Leo subject. Number one, the sun, second ray, love, wisdom. Number two, Uranus, seventh ray, organization or directed manifestation. And number three, Neptune, sixth ray, idealistic, one-pointedness, devotion to an objective. In the perfect Leo, the loving self-conscious soul, second ray, carries its power of expression straight through from its own plane to the plane of exterior manifestation, but preserves at the same time its interior control, Uranus, and from that point of achievement proceeds to make its ideal objective, Neptune, a fact in consciousness. Through sensitivity to the higher vibration and directed intelligence service of the plan, ponder on this summation. When Uranus controls, the Leo person is significantly the true observer, detached from the material side of life, but utilizing it as he pleases. His spiritual consciousness is capable of great expression, and he can be, as often being pointed out by astrologers, both an electric, dynamic leader, a pioneer of new fields of endeavor, and also a magnetic center of a group, whether the group is small, as in home, or vast, as in a nation. And Libra. Uranus is the esoteric ruler and is of supreme importance in this sign, for the seventh ray works through this planet and is the embodiment of the principle of consecration and the mass materializing of that which is in need of objective manifestation. Through the bringing together of spirit and matter, it is here that the whole mystery of money lies hid, and the creation and production of money. I would like here to point out to you that it is with the third aspect of divinity and the third aspect alone that the creative process is concerned. It is through the relation of the three aspects of the third divine manifestation, law, affinity, and concretized, I can't be right, concretized energy, that money is created. Scorpio. The place of the planets in this sign is also most relieving and in line also with the general purpose of the experience in Scorpio. Uranus is exalted in Scorpio. The power of Venus is lessened in this sign. Whilst the moon falls, what do these factors symbolically portray? Let me see if I can make the beauty of these implications clear to you. Uranus is the planet whose characteristics are the scientific mind, which at this stage of the disciple's career means that he can begin to live the occult life, and the way of divine knowledge can take the place of the mystic way of feeling. It means also that the knowledge can be transmuted into the way of wisdom and of light. This necessarily brings in the will aspect or the influence of the first ray, Vulcan, blended with the seventh ray, Uranus, producing the desired manifestation upon the physical plane. Uranus therefore initiates a new order of life and conditions, and this, when developed in the life of the principle, in its turn produces an understanding of the causes of things as they are, and the desire to change the old order and the old orientation into the new. This produces the reversal of the wheel. This can be seen happening today most clearly in connection with humanity and with world processes. Carried forward to its logical conclusion, the influence of Uranus finally produces an unfolded spiritual consciousness in contradiction to the human. For this reason, Uranus is exalted in the sign and assumes a position of power and of directed influence. Aquarius. The rulers of Aquarius are of peculiar interest. They constitute an effective group of planets and bring in the influences of the seventh, second, and fourth rays. These are preeminently the rays which determine the final stages of man's progress, as well as the initial stages being more potent at the beginning of the involution path and the end of the evolutionary path than they are in the middle period. They determine the final stages and happenings of the path of initiation. The seventh ray brings into the expression upon the physical plane the major pairs of opposites, spirit and matter, and relates them to each other, producing eventually one functioning whole. The second ray gives soul expression and spiritual consciousness, and also the power to pour out love and wisdom upon the earth, whilst the fourth ray indicates the field of service and the mode of attaining the goal. This mode or method is that of conflict and struggle in order to reach harmony, and thus express all truly human characteristics. For the fourth ray and the fourth creative hierarchy constitute essentially one expression of truth. Some astrologers assign Saturn as one of the rulers. Alan Leo does so, but I would point out that in this case he is dealing entirely with the progress of the ordinary man upon the wheel of life, and the Saturn which he senses as ruling Aquarius is the Saturnian influence of Capricorn, in which sign Saturn governs in two fields. On the reversed wheel, the Saturnian influence exhausts itself in Capricorn, and the man is then free from karma and needs no presentation of opportunity, for he stands a free initiate, a true master mason, and can then... Sorry about the noise. I've got a tattoo shop out there and it's just closing up. Master Mason, wasn't it? Master Mason. And can then produce with world service, undeterred and held back by no thought of self or selfish desire. He comes then under the influence of Uranus, that mysterious and occult planet. His will is focused and developed by the Uranian influences, and he develops into a leader. He brings about desired changes and produces those new conditions which will help the soul of humanity to express itself more freely. Water being the symbol of substance and of material expression plus emotional motivation, Aquarius is consequently dual in its activity, and the third ray expresses itself powerfully through this sign, reaching our planet through Uranus and the Moon, which hides or veils Uranus symbolically in this case. There is, therefore, to be found the double influence of Uranus, expressing the quality and bringing in the energies of the seventh ray. In one case, the third ray; in the other, the seventh ray is, in the last analysis, the focused, differentiated energy of ray 1, as it expresses the will of the first aspect of divinity on earth through the power to relate and bring into objective manifestation by an act of the will, both spirit and matter. This it brings about through the activity of ray 3, expressing itself through humanity and its individual units, though combining with the energy of the three rays which are released through the ruling planets. Number 1, Uranus, ray 7, the will to be and to know simultaneously on all planes of manifestation. Number 2, Jupiter, ray 2, the fusion of heart and mind, which is the subjective purpose of manifestation. This is brought about through the third and seventh ray activity on the exoteric wheel. The Moon, ray 4, the will to be and to know plus the fusion of heart and mind is the result of the work carried forward in the fourth creative hierarchy under the influence of that energy which produces harmony through conflict. How are we doing in there? That's the end of that section, so a quick look at chat. Hi, Lost in Space, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Great to see you. Hi, Susie Q. Thank you very much for coming, lovely. Good to see you. You're busy. You're all caught up. Thank you all for being here at an early hour in your area, I guess. All right, let's carry on. Okay, Aquarius relates humanity to the Pleiades and therefore to Taurus in an unusual manner. The key to this relation is to be found in the word desire, leading through the transmutative processes of life experience to aspiration and finally the relinquishing of desire in Scorpio, Aquarius, Alcyone, and humanity constitute a most interesting triangle of force. Alcyone is one of the 7 Pleiades and is called the star of the individual and sometimes the star of intelligence. It was potentially active during the previous solar system, wherein the third person of the Trinity was peculiarly omnipotent and active. Just as today, the cosmic Christ, the second person of the Trinity, is peculiarly active in this solar system, the energies coming from Alcyone impregnated and the substance of the universe with the quality of mind. As a consequence of this most ancient activity, the same force was present at the time of individualism in this solar system. For it is in this system and primarily upon our planet, the Earth, that the major results of that early activity have made themselves felt. 2 of our planets, the Earth, non-sacred, and Uranus, sacred, are directly the product of this third ray activity. This is of great importance to remember. I would also ask you to link this thought with the teaching that through the divine center of intelligent activity, which we call humanity, the fourth kingdom in nature will eventually act as the mediating principle to all 3 lower kingdoms. Humanity is the divine messenger to the world of form. It is essentially Mercury bringing light and life to the other divine manifestations, and all of this, all divine world, saviors are the eternal symbols. This coming process of planetary service through the third divine center is only truly effective when Aquarius rules and when our sun is passing through that sign of the zodiac, hence the immense importance of the next 2,000 years. Therefore, only when a man is a world server and becoming group conscious can this desired objective of manifestation begin to demonstrate. It is beginning to happen today for the first time in planetary history. It is one of the first fruits of initiation, and only in the next race to our present Aryan race will we begin really to understand the significance of the process and the true nature of the energies to be released through the medium of humanity upon the planet. It is for this reason that Jupiter and Uranus, expressions of the second and the seventh rays, are the exoteric and esoteric rulers of Aquarius. Hi, Annie Allen. Thank you for joining us. You have therefore the following line of force to study. Number 1, Alcyone in the Pleiades, the mothers of the 7 aspects of form life, the wives of the 7 rishis of the Great Bear. They are connected with the mother aspect which nurtures the infant Christ. Number 2, Aquarius, the world server, the transmitter of energy which invokes magnetic response. Number 3, Jupiter and Uranus, planets of the beneficent consummation, the second ray of love, the 7th ray which fuses spirit and matter to the ultimate glory of the solar logos, are in the fullest eventual cooperation. Number 4, humanity, the focal point for all these energies and the divine distributor of them to individual man and later to the lower 3 kingdoms in nature. Leo, Capricorn and Pisces. The effects produced are mass effects, and the rulers of these constellations which move into activity at this time are those listed in one of the earlier tabulations which I gave you. Leo, ruler, the sun veiling Uranus, the planet of occultism, and that which governs group relations, organizations, and the 11th house. It relates the Leo influence to Aquarius. Capricorn, ruler, Venus, governing the 2nd house, which is concerned with economics and the distribution of money and metals, and which rules Taurus, the seed house of illumination, and the new emerging light, Venus, also rules Libra exoterically, and the 7th house, wherein enemies are recognized and unions and friendships achieved. Pisces ruler, Pluto, governing the 8th house, the house of death and dissolution, of detachment, and ruling Scorpio, the sign of testing and of discipleship. This tabulation and its inferred relationships warrant careful study in the light of modern affairs and the present world situation. From the angle of the ray energies involved and seeking to control human life, you have the influence of the 7th ray of ceremonial law, order, and magic, the 5th ray of concrete knowledge or science, and the 1st ray of will, unitedly bringing about fundamental changes and ushering in the new era. This combination is terrifically potent and brings about the precipitation of inner forces, an increased activity of the lower mind, and an outpouring of the Shambhala force, all 3 of which can be seen functioning in the field of the planetary life today as never before. The greater effect is produced owing to the greatly increased sensitivity of mankind, compared to the 2 other times in which, in cyclic evolution, these 3 constellations were active. The combination is seen demonstrating in human affairs today. It was responsible for the organization which lay behind the World War, an organization involving all 3 levels in the threefold world of human evolution, and which affects also the 3 kingdoms in nature, climaxing in the 4th. It is responsible for the use of mental power on a vast scale, notably in the material sense it has at present, and for the achievement of human desire, plus the self-will of an evil few, who, because of the seeds of evil in their own nature, respond to the lower aspects of this force. It is also responsible for the steadily mounting will to good of the awakening many. A close analysis of these constellations, the planetary rulers, and the ray forces which these transmit will clarify the world issues in an amazing manner, plus the appreciation of the houses in which these effects will primarily be felt. The following brief tabulation may prove useful even if it is only a repetition of the earlier said. Quick look. You can pause the screen if you want to, if you're watching again. Okay, so one at the top of the page there. So we've got the constellation, Leo first, the ruler, the sun, Uranus, the ray, 7th, and the house, the 11th. And then we've got the constellation Capricorn, the ruler, Venus, ray, 5th, and house, it's my teeth, the house, 2nd and 7th. And then finally we've got the constellation Pisces, ruler, Pluto, ray, 1st, and house, 8th. The energies poured out, therefore, will be felt primarily in those aspects of human living which are influenced by the rulers of certain houses. The 7th ray of ceremonial order or organization is felt in the house of relationships, of organizations, and of mutual effort and aspiration, either towards good or evil. The forces of this ray work out on the 7th or physical plane, the plane whereon major changes in all forms are made and on which the disciple must firmly stand as he takes initiation. The 7th ray sweeps into organized and directed activity the world of forces upon the outer sphere of manifestation and produces the precipitation of karma, which is in this case leads to, number 1, the working out into expression of all the subjective evil of the life of humanity, thus producing the world war. 2, the initiation of the planetary logos, and with him all, Number 2, the initiation of the planetary logos, and with him of all who take their stand upon the side of the forces of light. This takes various forms as far as humanity is concerned. So that's 2a, the initiation of the consciousness of the masses for men into the Aquarian age, bringing them under the new influences and potencies and enabling them to make a response of which they would not otherwise be capable. 2b, the initiation of the aspirants of the world onto the path of accepted discipleship. And 2c, the bringing about of certain major initiations in the case of those world disciples who are ready enough and strong enough to take them. In spite of the vast destruction everywhere, the work of the 7th ray is being increasingly felt. The destruction of the forces of evil is going on even through at great cost to the forces of light. Simultaneously, there is a regrouping and a rearrangement of human attitudes and thought. This is brought about as a result of the tremendous demand upon the world thinkers for direction and guidance. Thus, the nebulous structure and the dim outlines of the New Age civilizations can already be seen. The underlying spirit of freedom will triumph as it is organized into revolt against slavery. To this end, the 7th ray will increasingly make contribution. That's the end of that section. How are we doing in there? Hi, Kirsty. Christy Schaefer. Great to see you. Thank you for being here. Okay, on to the next section. At the same time, it will be obvious to you that in relation to these simple triangles, certain interlocking triangles also emerge, as for instance the zodiacal triangle of Leo, Pisces, Capricorn, and the allied planetary triangle of Saturn, Uranus, and Mercury. These two triangles pour their 6 streams of force into our 3 planetary centers at this time, vitalizing and stimulating the planetary triangle of Shambhala, hierarchy, humanity. Behind these three stands a cosmic triangle emanating three streams of energy which pour into and through the three lesser triangles, thus potentially affecting every kingdom in nature. This cosmic triangle is that of the Great Bear, Sirius, the Pleiades. This paragraph simply summarizes the preceding pages and indicates the relation between the four triangles of energy. It is interesting to note that the seventh ray of ceremonial law and order works through Uranus, which is today the transmitter of Syrian force via Pisces to the hierarchy. From that middle center, it passes to the sensitive band of disciples, aspirants, and workers to whose hearts and hands is committed the heavy task. Incident to the reorganization and rebuilding of the shattered world structure. The seventh ray has sometimes been called a peculiar name by knowers. It is regarded as the ray of ritualistic decency. It aids and inaugurates the appearance of a new world order based on a spiritual divine and on aspirations, mental freedom, loving understanding, and a physical playing rhythm, which provides opportunity for full creative expression. To bring this about, energy from Shambhala, embodied the will to good, is fused and blended with the organizing energy of the seventh ray and then carried to humanity along the stream of love which emanates from the hierarchy itself. Pisces governs this effort of the hierarchy because the highest aspects of Pisces, which humanity can at this time in any way comprehend, is that of mediatorship. This is the energy of mediation, of right relationship. Today as never before, the hierarchy stands as a mediating transmitter between, number one, humanity and the will of God, the revelation of the true significance I got somebody else's teeth in today. True significance and purpose of that will, as it stands behind all world events, is needed now as never before. This can come through a closer relation between the hierarchy and humanity. Number two, humanity and its karma. For it is equally essential that the laws of the transmutation of karma into active present good are clearly grasped. Number three, humanity and cosmic evil focused for many millennia of years, in which humanity and cosmic evil focused for many millennia of years in what has been called the Black Lodge. Speculation anent this lodge and its activities is both fruitless and dangerous. The latter fact is responsible for the widespread attack made upon Masonry during this century. Masonry, inadequate and corrupt as it is, has been and guilty of overemphasizing certain forms of symbols, is nevertheless a germ or seed of future hierarchical effort. When the effort is, at some later date, externalized on Earth, Masonry is governed by the seventh ray, and when certain important changes have been made and the spirit of Masonry is grasped instead of the letter, then we shall see a new form of hierarchical endeavor appear to aid in the restoration and the ancient and sacred mysteries among men. The energy of Uranus pouring upon and into humanity produces the urge to better conditions to provide better forms for the occult and esoteric life, and to blend more adequately the inner and outer man. This is one of the reasons why the moon is spoken of so often as veiling Uranus. The moon is frequently used as a blind when Uranus is meant. Today, the moon is a dead world, and the reason is that the Uranian urge became so strong in that far distant time when there were living forms upon the moon, that it led to the complete and final evacuation of the moon and the transfer of its life to our planet. Well, that makes sense. Such a transfer is not necessary today, as the consciousness of humanity is such that the needed changes can be brought about without such a drastic procedure. It is, however, this Uranian influence which lies behind the present shift of populations throughout Europe and Great Britain, and which is responsible for the steady movement of peoples from east to west, from Asia to Europe in the earlier history of that continent, and from Europe to the Western Hemisphere in more modern times. In the study of the interlocking of these triangles, it will become apparent to the student that the combination of the influences of Sirius, Leo, and Uranus has been much needed at this time to foster and bring about those conditions which will enable mankind, under the steady influence of the hierarchy, to take the first initiation and give birth to the Christ, thus revealing and bringing to the light of day the inner hidden spiritual man. It is in Leo that man undergoes the preparatory stages of this first initiation. He finds himself and becomes self-conscious. Then he arrives at the stage of intelligent discipleship. He formulates a conscious inner program or purpose under the steady pressure of the life of the indwelling Christ. He begins to exhaust and deny the demands and desires of the lower nature. This cycle of experience is followed by a painful life of conscious reorientation, a cycle wherein he achieves balance and begins to stand in spiritual being as a result of constant trial and testing. Finally, he stands ready for the ordeal and accolade of fire proceeding to the first initiation. At that final stage, humanity today stands, when, as is now the case, the influence of Uranus is added to the other influences, and the seventh ray is at the same time entering into a major cycle of activity on the Earth. There is then present the energy needed to precipitate the crisis of initiation and produce a great rhythmic awakening. Astrologers would find it of interest to note similar combinations in the individual horoscope. Right, that's the end of chapter 4. That was a very quick hour, almost hour, 50 minutes. I won't get into chapter 5 right now, I don't think. Let's see, how long is it? Yeah, we'll save that one for another occasion. Hang on a sec. Okay, then we'll do chapter 5 next. It's only about 3 pages. How's everybody doing in there before I start chapter 5? Hope everybody's having a lovely day. It's beautiful weather in the UK today. Perfect blue skies, apart from the trails in the sky, which I'm starting to wonder maybe have something to do with this. Certainly have something to do with all the waves of light and energy coming in, like from other sources than the sun. So maybe it is to do with that. How are we doing? Hi Thomas, great to see you. Thank you for your comments earlier on the previous video. I hope you saw my reply. I'll go back and check to see if you commented on that. Hi Angelfish, thank you for coming. Very grateful for you all being here, especially at the time of day over there. Let's see if I've missed anything. Looks like you're all having a good time in there. Okay, so I'm guessing you'd all like me to continue. Like I say, it's only about 3 or 4 pages. Thank you. Thank you, Angelfish. Thomas, I don't know if you've seen my, Thomas S, that is, I don't know if you've seen my comment on your comment about the colour of people's eyes. Okay, Scotty, yes, I shall continue. As Thomas was saying, Thomas S was saying on one of my previous chapters about the relation between people's eye colour and the relation to certain houses, I guess, Thomas, where you're apart from. My eyes are a little bit different than most people's, as is a lot about me, a bit peculiar. My eyes do actually change colour from green to hazel. And Thomas, to answer your question, yes, I do have the red bits in them as well. I won't show you. I used to think it was just because I never sleep, but they are in there as well. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I still find this hard to believe. I did mention to Thomas in the comment, if anybody wants to go and check it out. My mum used to say that my eyes actually change colour from green, brown, in the heat of an argument and extreme anger, to red for a very short period of time. Now, I always found that hard to believe, even coming from my mum. As I'm sure as most of you, your mums don't generally lie to you about things. So I was like, okay, mum, what do you mean the white bit? She's like, no, the green and the brown bit, that changes to red briefly when you're really, really angry. Never really paid it much thought after she mentioned it until one of my ex-partners, not my ex-partner now, but a previous ex-partner, she said, whoa, she was freaked out one time when we were arguing. And my eyes did it then, and my ex-partner also has mentioned that my eyes flip to red in extreme anger, which is one of my motivating factors behind learning the techniques of calming myself down and centering myself to make sure that my pendulum never gets over there. And that happens because that's not normal, to be honest, is it, guys? And I was thinking, whoa, that's not normal. I don't like that. I don't want that to be happening to me. So I learned to control my anger to that point. I'm still learning, obviously, on the lower end of the pendulum, as we all do. Nobody's perfect, I guess. Certainly trying to get there, though. So yeah, just a little story about the colour of my eyes and what Thomas S. is referring to. How's everybody going in there? So yeah, I know it sounds a bit fantastical, but I've never witnessed it myself. Obviously, I've never looked in the mirror, so take for that what you will. Okay. Just have a little reader chat a second. Yeah, Scotty boy, it is an effort that we have to go through every day. It's an interesting, beautiful sounding eye coloured Suzy Q, turquoise, but that's pretty. Well done, Trina, that's it. It's all about controlling that fire, isn't it? Right, guys, I'm going to leave you just for 2 seconds, okay? I will continue with chapter 5 when I come back. That's the psychology of nations, and the 7th ray nations. I expect you can all imagine where I'm going. I shall be back in just 2 seconds, okay? I've drunk rather a few cups of coffee to make sure I was perky for this. So I will be just 2 minutes while I pop to the loop, okay? Move it on. Chat amongst yourselves. I'll literally be 2 seconds, okay? I do apologise. Howdy all, told you I wouldn't be long. Yeah, that's a problem drinking coffee, it's diuretic. Right, but I am what I am. I make no apologies. Don't see any other YouTubers doing that, but I am what I am, okay, guys? Okay, everybody okay in there? Thank you all for making Thomas feel welcome. He's a new member to this soul tribe. I do appreciate you all making everybody feel welcome in Wayne's chat as well, because I know that's where we all started off, really. Well, most of us started off in Wayne's chat, and it's great that you all carried that sort of ethos over to my chat and Trina's and Robert's and everybody's. That everybody is welcome, everybody's point of view is welcome. It's just there to be discussed. Okay, so I appreciate you all keeping it like that here too. So yeah, all points of view are welcome, no matter what its perspective you're coming from. That's what we're here for: bring ideas together and to speak about them. Because who never knows? Somebody might have one piece of a puzzle, somebody else might have another piece of a puzzle. Coming from different perspectives, we can hopefully finish the puzzle together. Which brings me, actually, before I get started again, to my Discord chat server. There's a link in the description below for anybody who hasn't already and would like to join my Discord chat server. Trina's got a page in there, Wayne's got a page in there, Milky Way's got a page in there, and Andromeda 7's got a page in there. So you can all chat on different subjects from different shows, as well as I've put my entire digital library in there. Along with many other people from the Soul Tribe have put their PDFs and other points of view in there. But I've also got a section in there, I think I called it Knowings. I'm not sure if Jules M has changed it. She's administrating it for me at the moment. But that's a place for us all to bring the pieces of our puzzles together. Yeah. So if you think you've got a little, ooh, I know that, you can pop it in there. And over time, we can all bring our pieces of the puzzle together. Okay. So the link's in the description below. Right, let's carry on. So we've got chapter 5, the psychology of nations, 7th ray nations. All of the great nations are controlled by 2 rays, just as is the human being. With the smaller nations, we need not concern ourselves. All the nations are controlled by a personality ray, which is the dominant, potent, and main controlling factor at this time, and by a soul ray, which is sensed only by the disciples and the aspirants of any nation. This soul ray must be evoked into an increased functioning activity by the new group of world servers, for this is one of their main objectives and tasks. This must never be lost to sight. Much could be written about the historical influences of the rays during the past 2,000 years and of the way in which great events have been influenced or brought about by the periodic ray influence. Interesting as it is, and indicative of the present national trends and problems, all that I can do now is to point out the energies governing each nation and leave you to study and note their effect and to comprehend their relation to the present condition of the world. One thing I would point out, and that is that those rays which govern a particular nation and which are at this time actively working are very potent, either materially or egoically. Some of the problems may be due to the fact that certain rays governing certain nations are not at this time active. Russia. A careful analysis of the idealism of Russia and the United States may reveal no resemblance to the goal of their idealism. The Russian is driven by his 7th ray soul towards the imposition of an enforced ceremonial of order rhythms, leading to an idealized order and a community of interests. Because of this, and because of the enforced work, some forces are present and active in Russia which need most careful handling by the spiritual hierarchy of our planet. These forces working in Russia are concerned with the magic of form, whereas pure white magic is concerned only with the soul or with the subjective aspect, as it is conditions the objective. The black forces, so-called, are nowhere rampant in Russia any more than in other parts of the world, but the Russian reaction and attitude to enforced rule and order has in it more of the magical 7th ray influence than is the case in other countries. Germany also enforced a standard order and way of living, but this was definitely submitted to the control of the Black Forces. Spain has sixth-ray ego and a seventh-ray personality, thus reversing the forces which are expressing themselves through the Russian spirit. Spain too acts as a link in world adjustment, but this time the link is between Europe and Africa. And in this capacity, Spain has earlier served. It will be apparent to you also how inevitable has been the relationship between Spain and Russia, and how the ideology of the latter country has influenced the national government. It will also be apparent why the battleground of two great ideologies, the fascist and the communistic, has been found inevitably in Spain. The triumph of the fascist part has been equally inevitable from the start because of the egoic relation existing between Spain and Italy, and also to the proximity of the two countries, which has enabled a telepathic impress of fascist idealism to be easily impressed upon the prepared and sensitive Spanish consciousness. As to the fanaticism, the natural cruelty and the fervent idealism, the arrogant pride and the religious and mystical quality of the Spanish character, they are obviously of sixth-ray origin and are highly crystallized. The intensive individualism of the people can be noted also as a definite part of their seventh-ray personality equipment. Their spiritual motto, I disperse the clouds, is indicative of the magical work for which Spain will eventually be responsible, and sooner than is perhaps anticipated, thus balancing in the highly intelligent and individualistic country the field of scientific magic and the magical work of the Church of the future. This is a prophecy which lies at present too far ahead to be capable of verification, either in this generation or the next, but it is rooted in national characteristics and the law of probability. Seventh-ray influences via planetary rulers. Germany, Ray 7, ceremonial order or ritual via Uranus. This affects the masses as a whole, as it is the hierarchical ruler, and because of their point of evolution, leads to their facile standardizing and regimenting. The seventh ray also focuses or grounds the first ray and then leads to the power direction which is given them. Great Britain, Ray 7, ceremonial order or organized ritual research reaching our planet via Uranus and giving to the empire its grounded physical plane, control over place and circumstances, its legal fundamentals in cooperation with the Libra and its love of order and the rule, thus providing full expression for the first ray energies of the British Empire. And the United States, Ray 7, the Order of Magic via Uranus. This influence is inherited from the Atlantean world. It's interesting, the theory I've got, I'll be mentioning at some point. The Atlantean world, which still rules the territorial aspect of the states, which is a remnant of an old Atlantis. There's my theory confirmed then. It is this that produces the many magical, spiritualistic, and occult groups which flourish today in the States. Right, that's it. That's the end of chapter 5. How are we doing? Just over an hour. Oh, I'm so tempted to keep going. I better not go out eating yet today. All right. Okay, so yeah, we'll save chapter 6 for next time. Okay. 25 to 6. It's a very short one. But yeah, that was very interesting, that last little bit about the United States. Don't know how many people watch Static in the Attic. Very good channel. But I always find his videos very interesting. Mud Fossil University, Roger. And there's a couple of other YouTubers that I watch quite often. But through some research of my own, and through watching these channels with the Mud Flood theory, I was kind of coming to the conclusion that America either was Atlantis and sank and rose, which is predicted to have happened with Atlantis, that it would come to rise at the end of the New Age, of the Old Age rather than the start of the New Age. And yeah, so I'm not too sure of the Eye of the Sahara, although it does fit all of the criteria of Plato's account of Atlantis. Maybe that was the heart of Atlantis that sank. They said it did sink. Yeah, it seemed to me that all the structures and what have you that were already there when the settlers supposedly arrived there, maybe they already knew what was going to be there and they were just waiting for it to rise back up again. The actual whole continent, or parts of it. It was 10 islands, wasn't it, Atlantis? Well, no, it's not really related to this, but it's just because the end of that chapter I'm waffling a bit. So yeah, I'd sort of a theory that America, or parts of the Americas, were actually parts of Atlantis. See what reaction that gets. That'd be interesting. Certainly explains why they had all the pre-built cities and, well, what was left of pre-built cities, half of them underground and things like this. Let's see what you all make of that one. I don't know if I'll make a full video on that. It's a bit of an in-depth topic. That's more of a series of videos if I do go down that route. Anyway, thank you all very much for joining me. We're bang on halfway through the book now. Okay, so definitely keep going with that one. But I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and I hope to see you all in Wayne's chat soon, especially you, Trina. Obviously you'll be there. I was hoping to catch yesterday's show, but I actually fell asleep after work, so I missed the entire show. I still haven't watched it yet, so I'll watch that one later. Sounded like an interesting show. Right, let's see if we missed anybody or anything in chat before I go. I'll have a proper read later on, assuming that it has recorded the chat, because I think the first couple of live shows it didn't record the chat. 19, okay, coffee time. Some lovely comments in there. Trina, we all have to go. I hope you all popped out then when I did. Thank you all so much for your loving in the chat rooms, guys. I really do feel it. Whenever I'm in Wayne's chat, I can seriously feel you all, your love pouring out to each other. It's almost tangible. Don't know if anybody else feels that. And in my chat as well, I can feel you all in there. Probably comes with being an empath, I guess. Got that right, Trina. Love is divine. Right, I think I'll sign off there. Sure, I missed somebody. Bad Cow Perkins. There we are. I knew you were there. Thank you very much for joining us. Right then, guys. I will see you all in Wayne's, I guess, later on. Thank you all very much for joining me. Very grateful for you coming. Yeah, anybody got any questions on anything to do with this, you can email me at David Berry. I should really put it down in the description, shouldn't I? davidberry80@googlemail.com. Obviously, if you know me on Facebook, you can message me on there as well. I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have on this topic. I kind of started reading this book because I feel like I already know what it is, but this book was sort of jumping off the shelf at me often, so that's why I started with that one. It's just trying to explain what I know, really. So yeah, auf Wiedersehen, as Thomas said. I will see you all soon. I love you all. Be the frequency you want to see, receive, as Brian always said. I love you all, and it's great fun us all learning together, eh? I'll see you soon. Bye bye, everybody.